All right, guys, welcome back to the Whiteboard series. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about vegetables. There's a lot of ways to approach improving the quality of your diet like we talked about last time, but one of the easiest ways to do that is just to add in vegetables to your diet. It's one of the easiest ways to start making progress on healthy habits, losing weight, leaning out, and just feeling overall better. So let's talk about vegetables for a second. Three main pieces. The first thing we're going to go over is, what are they? Let's define vegetables. A lot of us think we know what vegetables are, and you probably do, but getting more specific definition of that is going to help a whole lot. Number two is, what's one serving? What is a serving of vegetables, right? You hear that all the time. Hey, eat more vegetables. Well, how much is more, right? Is it serving X or is it Y? We're going to define what a serving is. Part three, how many servings in a day is the right amount for you? It's going to be dependent on a whole lot of stuff, from everything from your weight, your goals, and everything else that you have going on that you're working towards by adding in a healthy diet. So, first part here, what are they? Let's go to number one. There are several types of vegetables. We say eat the rainbow. There are green vegetables, there are white vegetables, there are red vegetables. There's yellow, there's orange. I left off a lot of colors, but when you think about eating vegetables, think about eating tons of different types of different colors. So just a few examples: green vegetables, asparagus, broccoli, lettuce, and Brussels sprouts. These are not limited to those. There are so many other green vegetables, it's not even funny, right? White vegetables, mushrooms, cauliflower, onions. Red vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, radish. Yellow is going to be stuff like squash and other pieces like that, but you can add in as many of these as possible to make that rainbow of vegetables. You want to get a variety in the type of vegetables you eat. I will say this: when you look at green, white, red, yellow, orange, no matter what the color of the vegetable is, you really want to have as many green vegetables as possible. They have tons of micronutrients. And that's the whole key piece on why to add in vegetables. Vegetables have a lot of micronutrients. You've heard a little bit, we talked about in the last video about macronutrients. Well, micros are fiber, vitamin D, vitamin B, C, E, D, K, A, all these things that help your metabolic system run more efficiently and help burn fat. So, with that said, we kind of know what vegetables are, right? These are some basic examples, but they are not limited to. Please think about using as many different types of vegetables as possible. There's tons that are good for you out there. The next part is, what's one serving? So, okay, I want to add these in. I want to add some vegetables in. They look good. Well, how much do I add in? Well, one serving is going to equal a fist. So one of your fists is equal to one serving of vegetable. Of course, that's going to vary on your size, and it's going to correlate really well with your size. So whatever one fist is one serving of vegetables. How many servings of vegetables per day? This is where it gets in a little bit more customized, depending on what your goals are and what you want out of it, right? So servings are based on goals, weight, and your tolerance for vegetables, right? So a couple examples. If your goals are to lose maybe 3 to 5 pounds, you don't have to add in that many vegetables, that many servings, that many fistfuls of vegetables a day to get an improvement. Say you're already getting one fistful of vegetables a day. Well, if your goals are to lose 3 to 5 pounds, maybe you just need to increase that to 2 or 3 servings of vegetables a day. So instead of just having a salad at lunch that has one fistful of romaine lettuce, right? You could instead have a salad at lunch that has 2 fistfuls of romaine lettuce. And then at dinner time, instead of having steak and potatoes, you have steak, potatoes, and a serving of asparagus. Now you go from 1 serving of vegetables to 3, right? Do you guys see how that adds up and that changes? So it's all depending on what your goals are. Now, I will say this: I'm 6'2", 200 pounds, and for my daily intake on vegetables, it's supposed to be 6 to 8 servings. That is 6 to 8 fistfuls of vegetables a day. That's really hard to get. I eat vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's still hard to hit that number. So shooting for a number that high out of the gate is not something that I would recommend. I would recommend just increasing from what you already are doing. So using that previous example that we had before, let's say I'm having 1 serving of vegetables a day, and I'm not a big fan of vegetables, so the goal might be for you something simple, just adding in to 2 servings of vegetables a day, bringing it up a little bit, and you're going to see some improvement on that. You're going to see a little bit more energy out of it. Your metabolic processes are going to improve. You're going to feel better. Another part to take into account, like we talked about earlier, is weight, right? So the bigger human you are and the bigger amount of lean muscle that you have, the more servings of vegetables you're going to want to get. If you wanted a specific amount and you want to dial it in perfectly, you really probably need to sit down with a trainer on that. We have some calculations we can put into play where we can figure out the exact number for you based on what your goals are, what your activity level is, and how much weight you want to lose or gain. That number can get really specific, but just know this, the heavier you are, typically the more vegetables you want, the lighter you are, less vegetables. The big one then, tolerance, right? So if I'm only eating 1 serving of vegetables a day, I would not recommend going from 1 to try to hit 6 to 8 a day. That's a really big jump, and it's kind of setting us up for failure, right? I'd much rather you go from 1 to doing 2 servings of vegetables a day or 3 servings of vegetables a day. And if that's easy after doing it for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, then it's a good time to go ahead and add in more vegetables. Maybe you go 3 or 4 times a week, or 3 or 4 times a day, and you try that for 2, 3, or 4 weeks. So you want to think about building into this stuff really, really slowly. The last thing I'll say about vegetables, right? We have 1, 2, and 3. We have what are vegetables, what's 1 serving, and how many servings should I get a day? The big piece that's not written on here is variety, right? That's why I have green, white, and red, and we talked about there's yellow, there's orange, there's all these different types of vegetables. What you don't want to do is have the same vegetable over and over again. For example, say you like broccoli, and you eat that chicken, broccoli, and rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, you may do that for a day, 2 days, you may do it for a week, 2 weeks, even 3 weeks, but at some point you're going to get sick of eating the same thing over and over again, and when that happens, you're going to be off of those vegetables, you're not going to eat broccoli again for a year, right? And so we see this a lot with our clients. They'll do this for 2 or 3 weeks, they'll eat the same thing over and over again, they'll get bored, and they'll stop dieting or eating healthy and dieting for 6 months or a year. And so you see these little peaks and valleys, right? So they're eating this stuff, the broccoli, body weight starts going down, they get burned out on it, they go back to eating fast food, they get back up. That's that yo-yo effect going up and down. So instead of the yo-yo effect, maybe for breakfast you're doing lettuce wraps with eggs in them, and for lunch you're doing some pre-made broccoli that you made in the oven the week before, or the weekend before, and then for dinner you're cooking asparagus fresh, right? So you want to change this stuff up throughout the day, throughout the week. It doesn't matter if they're all green or if they're all white or red or yellow or orange. A mixture of them, a variety of them. They each have different micronutrients in them and advantage to having them. And the big key is they keep you from getting bored of eating the same vegetable over and over again. If you have to eat that many, you might as well change it up and get a little bit of variety in there so you don't get burned out. You don't get burned out, you keep doing it for a long time, and over time, 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, you see weight loss and you keep it off. Well, cool. That's a nutshell on vegetables. If you want to talk more about this, we have trainers at the gym that'll be happy to sit you down on nutrition plans and work with you individually on it. But until I see you next time, see you later.